Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1, followed by the words Spot Media. Teachers at Camperdown High in Kingston this morning staged a silent protest complaining about what they say is student indiscipline. Classes were not affected, but the teachers wore black to register their displeasure with an incident which occurred on the compound yesterday. A female teacher was allegedly physically abused by 2 grade 10 students. She was squeezed between a door and a grill, and her hands wrung behind her as the students tried to get back a cell phone she had confiscated. Principal of Camperdown, Valentine Bailey, confirmed the incident with our news center this morning.
Yes, there was an incident yesterday afternoon involving a teacher and 2 students. The chairman of the school, who was on the compound at the time, issued clear directives as to how we should proceed in dealing with the matter. And currently, that's what we are doing. We are following the chairman's directives. If there's anything else to disclose, we will let the media know. Teacher is fine. There was some touching that we may have or may not have caused any major injury. We are waiting on the teacher to let us know.
The Ministry of Education is providing counseling and support to the poorest high school in Manchester following the killing of 17-year-old Ronaldo Dixon on Wednesday. We have more in this report.
The poorest high school is trying to cope with the killing of 17-year-old Ronaldo Dixon, who was stabbed during a fight with another student with a pair of scissors. He was taken to the hospital where he died while being treated. Acting principal of the poorest high school, David Powell, explained what happened.
I was in the office area. I heard a commotion. Somebody said there was a fight. By the time I reached the door, I saw the young man, Dixon, covered in blood. I must appreciate the quick action of my Dana discipline, who quickly picked him up with another teacher, rushed him off to the hospital.
According to Mr. Powell, the student who did the stabbing has a history of behavioral problems and was in the process of being expelled. He was also injured during the altercation and once treated was released in the custody of the police.
The student who did the stabbing was released from hospital into the custody of the police, and he is currently still in custody, waiting to be interviewed with his parent. We are conducting our own internal investigation as to what happened at the school. The police is treating with 2 cases, a case of homicide and a case of wounding. And
member of the Safety and Security in Schools Initiative, Richard Trope, says the Ministry of Education will analyze the school's security system.
And also use the opportunity to do a general safety audit of the institution to determine if there are any areas of weaknesses that out of this situation we need to give attention to and to make sure it is corrected moving forward.
Simone Golding reporting for TVJ News.
An extensive search yesterday at a house on Pee Wee Lane in West End, Negril, Westmoreland ended without any sign of missing 3-year-old Orlandi Miller. Orlandi and her mother, 24-year-old Chantal Dyer, disappeared 2 months ago. Miss Dyer's body was found buried in a makeshift grave in the house on Wednesday afternoon. Head of the Westmoreland Police, SSP Egbert Parkins, gave details on yesterday's search.
We did an extensive search of the area surrounding the house and a distance from the house to see if we found any place that has been disturbed, like something had been buried there or not. However, our search came up nil. We didn't find anything. However, what we are doing is that we are continuing investigation as it relates to that child, the missing person. As soon as we get anything that can change that part of the investigation, then we will elevate the charge that will be investigated. At this time, we have no lead as to where that child might be.
And the police have also gave an update on efforts to find a person of interest in the case. Investigators say the man left the island on April 27.
We will be using our mutual assistance treaty with our partners in the United States to hunt him down, because it is important for us to bring closure so the family can have some peace of mind, even though this is a heinous crime. But knowing that somebody's charged and placed before the court, the family will feel much better.
Jamaica is taking steps to get itself in line with international academic standards so that achievements of local students can be compared with other countries. Education Minister Ruel Reid confirmed that preparatory work is being conducted so that Jamaica can be a part of the international system responsible for certification. His comments follow yesterday's disclosure of GSAT data. Senator Reid acknowledged that other countries are part of an international testing system which allows their students to be compared using international standards. Speaking yesterday on RJR's Beyond the Headlines, he explained that steps have already started to get Jamaica on board.
Benchmark. In fact, the IDB is very much in support of that initiative, and that would allow us to have our students tested in an international test and then compare ourselves how our students at age 15 and thereabout, how they're doing.
And Senator Reid explained the importance of completing such a process and why it should be done quickly.
I just started the process, so we are in discussion. So I'm hoping that we can have that done in short order because, you know, although we do benchmark our GSAT curriculum and the testing, but you're correct that, you know, it's not the same test that you can just simply compare it to whether in the rest of the region or internationally.
The Doctors Wood disposal site in Buff Bay, Portland is on fire. Firefighters have been battling the fire for 3 days and this morning started loading sand on the remains of the fire in an effort to put out the blaze. Regional Operations Manager for Northeastern Parks and Markets, Tracy Fakuri, gave TVJ News an update on the state of the cooling down operations.
We've been experiencing a fire at this disposal site from evening before last. We yesterday managed to contain it, that the spreading wouldn't go beyond where it was already lit. Then we started a process of covering with some water being poured on it with our cooling down exercise.
She noted that the cooling down exercise was hindered by poor visibility.
Earlier than we would have liked last night because the equipment doesn't have any light. After a while we were just unable to see to do any further, but we have been on it from 7 o'clock this morning, finishing the covering. So there is some smoking, not as intense as yesterday, and we expect that by nightfall this evening it will be much improved. Because we're well advanced into covering, now we just have to get some water.
Medical practitioner and former senior medical officer of the Maypen Hospital in Clarendon, Dr. Winston Dawes, says it's too early to tell if a current breakout of flu is a result of the recent flooding. TVJ News caught up with Dr. Dawes during a visit to the parish to see how residents have been coping following the flood rains.
Each year we get, a different strain of flu. And if you are vulnerable, immunocompromised or very old or very young, you can have a serious negative impact on it. Or if you have anything like diabetes, etc.
Meanwhile, Dr. Dawes warned that fogging will not address the increased mosquito population that's now affecting several communities following last month's floods.
No. Fogging kills those mosquitoes which are flying around. It does not affect those that are, in the larval stage, and they will come out the day after. So what we need to do is to put oil on the stagnant water so that any larvae which are there will be killed and won't be able to breathe.
Head of the Health Ministry's HIV program, Senior Medical Officer Dr. Nicholas Skyers, is raising concern about persons who have been diagnosed with HIV but are not getting treatment. The concern comes in the wake of contradicting statistics from the ministry and the United Nations Special Envoy on HIV to the Caribbean regarding new HIV cases in Jamaica. Dr. Skyers says the UN report of a dangerous increase in HIV cases in Jamaica is not correct. However, there are concerns about diagnosed persons accessing treatment.
Coming in for care. So there are about 50% of our persons who have been actually diagnosed, but they're not in our public health system seeking care. Some might be in private sector. There may be issues of stigma and discrimination that they may face. They may have their own internal issues with depression, denial. So there are a whole host of factors that would impact persons between diagnosis and being linked to care.
The ministry says it continues its educational campaign encouraging condom usage among all ages and groups regardless of sexual orientation. The campaign will also address this new treatment concern.
We're actually about to launch a media campaign encouraging persons to come in for care, especially those who were tested prior and are not receiving any care, to come in to seek care.
And we go now to sports. 8-time Olympic champion Usain Bolt has sent out a word of advice to anyone who is aiming to take his crown at this summer's World Championships in London. Meanwhile, Bolt's fellow Olympic champions David Rudisha and Mo Farah are looking ahead to Saturday's meet as we continue our build-up to the Racers Grand Prix.
Canadian Olympic double silver medalist Andre De Grasse recently told reporters that he believes he has a great chance to dethrone Jamaica's 19-time world and Olympic champion Usain Bolt. But Bolt, who hasn't lost at a major championship since winning the Olympic sprint double in 2008, had this warning for De Grasse and all others who are planning to knock him off his perch in his farewell season.
What bothers me the most is when an athlete is coming up through the ranks and they get to a certain level. They always want to beat me. I don't know why. I always tell my younger athletes at our Racers Track Club, listen, you have to take a step at a time. You can't, when you're climbing a ladder, you have to take your time and work your way up to the top. So all I have to say to De Grasse is that take your time and work your way up to the top.
Meanwhile, Britain's 4-time Olympic champion Mo Farah, who arrived in the island on Thursday, said he was excited to be competing in Bolt's home farewell.
It's incredible what he's done for the sports. He's changed completely in terms of how the sports is run, how relaxed, his personality, his character. And as he retired, we're definitely going to miss him. He's done amazing in terms of just track and field, but in terms of globally sports, he's an icon, he's a legend, and we will definitely miss him. But we just have to go and celebrate on Saturday, enjoy it, and I'm just glad to be as part of it and be here in Jamaica as his final race.
800-meter world record holder David Rudisha says his season has been progressing well despite finishing 4th at his opening race of the season at the Shanghai Diamond League.
My form is getting well nicely. Always is hard to start the fast race, and especially whereby you jump into a big competition. And I'm looking forward. After that, I went back home, did some good training, so I'm expecting to have a good run on Saturday.
The second staging of the Racers Grand Prix will be held at the National Stadium on June 10 with live and exclusive coverage on TVJ, TVJSN and OneSpotMedia.com with extensive radio coverage on Hits 92 FM. Jordan Fort, TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for our primetime news package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon and have a great weekend.